24/7 on the internet.
All right, Frank, here it is, our premiere episode of Club Barnett, where you and I talk to Ronnie Barnett of the Muffs. And I'm Jeff Brenneman of Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme, and also of the alternative hit band
Smoky Ghost of Big Trees.
You gonna mention the CD?
We got a new CD coming out, and it's going to be out, I think, April of 2021. So combining our first two EPs.
That's great.
And you're Frank.
I am Frank Dragato of the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast. And we have a mutual love of the Muffs and Ronnie Barnett.
Yes.
And so we created a little club. And we call it Club Barnett.
Yes. And you all are welcome to join us in this club. It's not exclusive.
No. There'll be no hand stamps. And we will not be closing at 2 a.m. It's open 24/7. So come on in.
Yes, indeed. And I have a question for you, Frank.
Uh-huh.
And I'm willing to give you $10 worth of Girl Scout cookies if that's 2 boxes.
All right.
The 2.5 boxes, something like that. Anyways, can you answer this question?
Uh-huh.
Do you know of a better storyteller than Ronnie Barnett?
Wow. I cannot. The man has a memory and a desire to explain that memory in detail.
Indeed.
Like no other.
The best storyteller I know.
I think you're right.
I'm giving you you're getting cookies anyways. But.
Well, I hope I get to choose which kind. That's for sure. So why don't we talk about episode 1 of Club Barnett? And we have what we did. Let's explain what we did is we had Ronnie on Zoom.
Yes.
And we just asked him really just different questions about different times of his time in the Muffs and before the Muffs and after the Muffs. And he was willing to give us little tidbits of stories. Not everything, because the man's writing a book.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yes.
So
I got an empty spot on my book rack right there. This is for the Ronnie book right here.
Oh, that's good. I'm going to get rid of Paul Stanley's book and put Ronnie's there because that thing's garbage. But one of the questions we asked him was back in the early days, they had an MC that would introduce the band. And Ronnie was good enough to tell us about that. And he was talking about the sound in the monitors in the clubs because Kim was famous for pretty much just going off. And she wanted things a certain way. And we're gonna hear about that. And then finally, what I think is funny is Ronnie talking about his bass lessons, because the man, he's all over the fretboard. I don't know if you've noticed, but he is everywhere on that fretboard.
Yeah. So we asked him if he's had bass lessons, and I think the video pops in right after we asked him the question. So he's answering our question about that. Yeah. I thought it was really interesting. And if when we hear the monitors in sound episode, or part of this episode, I like how Ronnie phrases, "We carried our own sound man." I'm just imagining. So they had a sound man that went along with them. So
that's it.
That's a fun part of the story. And then hearing how Kim would be so frustrated with some of these small clubs, right? And not getting the sound that they needed, and how she reacted. And I think there was a few people got kicked, maybe.
If Ronnie wasn't the whipping boy, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near, because they were going to get Kim's wrath. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So these are some great stories that we hear right here.
All right, let's take a look.
Fundamental discipline of fine rockin' music. The acceleration of a hard rockin' band. Ladies and gentlemen,
I didn't write it down, but it's perfect. I just love it, and I don't remember it word for word, but it's a good, clever.
Femininity is such sweet sincerity. Blah blah blah, with a fine rockin' band.
Right.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. That man's name is Donnie Popejoy. Right. When I moved out here in 1989, and I started seeing Donnie. He would introduce L7. Mm-hmm. Now I'm drawing a blank. Just some other bands. Right. He dresses in a tuxedo, with a red carnation.
Nice.
And he's an MC. And like, so when we formed, I asked him if he would introduce us, and he did. And so almost every time in LA, any LA show, we were introduced by Donnie. And
that's great.
No, Donnie's fantastic. And Donnie gets himself worked up. Like once around the corner, we heard him warming up, and he was going ma 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 fa 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 ma 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 fa. Yeah. And like
he's serious.
He takes it really seriously. And then that said, by the end of the show, we get off stage where he would come out again and try to work the crowd.
Right.
It would be like Donnie had like a blood transfusion of alcohol. Like he would be just hammered, like over the course by the end of our set. So Donnie's still around. I still see him. I talk to him sometimes. Donnie's great. And he's our LA guy. We always would talk about,
that's cool.
Donnie should come to San Diego and do it, or somewhere else, but that never happened. But thanks for noticing our MC. Yeah, well, here's the deal, Frank. When you work the dumps that we used to work, all right. No, I'm just first off, every night, every club, every stage, it's all different, right? Even when we did our real tours, if you will, we carried a sound man with us, but we didn't have a monitor guy. All the big acts have that. And the thing that I don't know the clubs you're referring to, but they're probably big rock clubs, like
all up and down the strip. Yeah.
So guys. they're not these punky clubs where the monitors are all dented in or whatever. And look, and also, there's many things that can happen between sound check and to when you go on, right? There's the other bands, there's, whatever happens. And to be honest, that's also a symptom of us being a loud band on stage. I mean, she couldn't hear because we were so loud, especially the early shows. That a lot of complaint. And again, the audience hates to hear that kind of stuff. They don't care about monitors, most of them don't even know what they are. But I mean, she couldn't hear herself, and it was because she's, it's because we were loud, and and there were times where there was a show or two where she just got so mad, she kicked one show, she kicked him off the stage. One show she turned him towards the audience.
Right.
There was a show we did at the I'm trying to think if it's a whiskey or the Roxy. Mm-hmm. And the Roxy, the monitor guy is up at the Roxy. You come down a staircase onto the stage, right? So halfway up that staircase is the monitor guy in kind of like a bird's nest type of thing on the side. Yeah. So there's a show we did there where mid-song, she literally dropped her guitar and ran off the stage and up those steps to like yell at the monitor guy
to do your job.
Yeah. So, that said, I mean, out of all the shows we did, we won over all the sound people.
Right.
Like, I guess with our act or our personality or whatever, like we ended up, there weren't too many soundmen that wanted to kill us, which, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that shit. They don't want to hear complaints about their sound or whatever. But, it was always a struggle with the monitors. And then look, I get it. Like she's got to sing. I'm just playing bass and I had to I had to try to sing once we became a 3-piece, as far as some backups, but, I did my best, but I learned not to complain, and I learned to not hear myself, and, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And some clubs Some clubs had great sound, but most did not. Sorry, I'm stammering because what happened was
were you molested? I was a music teacher.
I didn't want to bring this up. What happened was I used to hang around. This goes back to my record store, starting in record stores. I used to hang around the local record store. So age like 13, 14, 15, I was sweeping up for promos and stuff. And the manager I got to be friends with, and he played the bass. And I was influenced by him to actually want to play the bass and ask for a bass, because kids don't ask for basses.
Right.
They want to play guitar or drums. You know what I mean? Like, so my father gave me that bass, my main bass, you know, when I was 13, 1978. And so they set me up with lessons, right? And basically I took one lesson on the bass, and the teacher told my parents, you know, you should get him a guitar, you know? So they got me, I got an acoustic Charlie Pride guitar, Charlie Pride model. I wish I still had it.
Right.
I got nothing but respect for Charlie Pride. Yeah. It's a different subject, but yeah, so I took like 3 guitar lessons, and then I didn't go back. And then what happened was I was hanging around that same record store, and a teacher at my high school came in, and he had a reputation as the kind of the punk teacher, and he had a band. He was a music guy. He was a government teacher. And this is between my freshman and sophomore year. So I met him in that summer, and somehow we started talking, and it came up that I had a bass, and he like said, you want to come over and play? And basically his brother played guitar, and his brother taught me to play the bass, basically. Wow. Like said, and there were simplified versions. Obviously I didn't know what I was doing. But first song I was taught was It's Too Bad by The Jam. And if you know that song, it's really busy bass line, but he just taught me just the straight notes. And that's how I learned to play. I fell into this band with a high school government teacher and his brother when I was a sophomore. And so the first show I played was our talent show that year.
Cool.
And that would be like 81. Yeah. And to show you the difference, during our set, we played All Day and All the Night, but we also played a Gang of Four song. We played a Wire song. And I just want to say the other band on the bill, they played Hold On Loosely by 38 Special. And, you know, so that's how different we were. And you know, so that's how I fell into playing the bass.
Come on, monitor, please.